But how do you not scare the fuck out of them while making them aware at the same time? They're two kind of different things, but
Well, don't tell your kids the world's going to end in 50 years.
no,
and we can't,
that's all nonsense.
Yes.
Well, wasn't that what Greta Thunberg was saying in 2015? Yeah, the idea that you can predict how this is going to go down seems nutty, but really we need to concentrate on some stuff that we absolutely can control, and one of them is plastics in the ocean. Like, there's these people that are doing a great job of trying to figure out methods to sift that stuff out. Just the sheer knowledge of how much is out there.
Yes.
Do you know a lot of our stuff, apparently, we used to think that when you recycled, that everything gets recycled. But apparently, they don't do such a good job recycling plastic. They just use it, put it in landfills. And sometimes they ship it to other places. Hey, you guys take it. We don't even want it.
I know nothing about, but I believe you.
Yeah, there's horrific imagery and videos of other countries where they're just dumping their waste into a river, and you see these river systems that are just completely clogged by plastic bottles and garbage. And humans are so fucking weird. We're so weird.
We need the aliens to save us, Joe.
No, we need to get it together. But I do think if I was an alien, I would be watching. I think if I had to guess, if I had to put my chips on whether or not it's real or not real, I would think yes, it's real. I think there most likely we've been observed, most likely we've been visited multiple times. Why wouldn't they? If they have the capability, we'd be fascinating. Also, I think some of the stuff we're seeing is ours. I think both of those things could be true at the same time. And I think one of the ways that, again, I would obscure whether or not we have stuff like that is to start talking about aliens. That just seems like common chess moves. I'm like, oh, I see where you're going. You know, if you just all of a sudden, you got whistleblowers and all of a sudden you're telling me that all this stuff is real, like, okay, now I'm suspicious. I was less suspicious when you were lying about it. You know, when you were lying about it, I was like, oh, they're hiding the aliens. They're hiding it, but now they're talking about it. I'm like, oh, you guys probably are still hiding the aliens, but you probably back engineered some shit or developed some stuff on some completely independent, government-funded black ops branch of physics where they knew something about magnetic propulsion or something, and they've developed some unmanned drone that can go hypersonic speeds.
What do you think they look like?
Aliens?
Yeah.
Well, if you want to go back to the old CIA documents, because there are documents that George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell have uncovered from the Freedom of Information Act, where they said there was 4 different races that were visiting us. Yeah, and some of them are the classic grays, and some of them are what they call the tall whites. They look like Nordic people, like really pale skin and long hair, and their ears are like flat to their head, and they have larger eyes than we do. But they look almost like humanoid.
Huh.
Yeah, but I mean, who fucking knows? You know, this is all just nonsense talk. It's like what kind of elves do you believe in? You know, well, I don't believe in leprechauns, but the regular wood elves are real. You know, I don't know, man. I don't know. I haven't seen one. I can't. I would die to see one. I mean, it'd be fascinating. I'd be willing to not tell people. Like, take me, show me. I want to know. But everybody thinks that way, right? Everybody wants to know. But until you see something, and if you do see something, you're going to go, what did I fucking see? Is that real? Like, how reliable is my goddamn memory? You know, like, did I just have like some internal burst of psychedelic chemicals and it tricked me into thinking that I'd been abducted?
That's all good question.
Well, that's a real question too, because a lot of these alien abduction stories, they happen at night. And when people are sleeping and dreaming, occasionally people get sleep paralysis. That's a real factor. And then dreams themselves. People have lucid dreams. They have dreams that appear that they're real. They have like different levels of dreams. Like some medications you take give you wild, vivid dreams.
Yes.
We know that, right? Yeah. So what is happening there? Well, there's obviously some sort of neurochemicals that get released during sleep that appear to be, if not hallucinogenic, maybe they're definitely psychedelic. What are they doing? Are they connecting your consciousness with some other realm? Like, what is going on? And I can imagine if you were, you know, you had one of these endogenous dumps of these naturally produced psychoactive substances and you're lying in bed, you would see fucking aliens over you. But does that mean that the aliens aren't real? I don't know that either, because that might be how they get to you. Look at the bottom paragraph. The ICIG office did nothing to look into the information they received from David Grush on UAP crash retrieval programs. They have no information they can give to Congress. Cover up. This is Representative Tim Burchett. He calls cover up.
It's posted the 2-page letter that the ICIG Thomas Monheim is his name, who was working with David Grush, I think.
Interesting.
Oh.
And their claim is that they haven't done anything. They're not looking into the claims at all.
Interesting. Well, maybe they're not allowed to. If there was a crash retrieval program, I would imagine I would say, shut the fuck up. No, you can't look at it. If there's some UFO that we have, and if we find out, look, how do you know? How do those people working for you, whether or not someone's been taking money from Russia or taking money from China or taking money from Iran?
Taking money
How
from
do you
the
know?
aliens.
How do you know? How do you know there might be some guy that works for you that's a spy? You can't let everybody come in and see the UFO. It's on a need-to-know basis. So you deny them. No.
I think everyone needs to know if it's a UFO.
I don't know. When they cover it up now, I'm starting to think they're real.
What would it matter if they were up a spy saw this? Like, hey, they have something. Yeah, I mean, maybe they could take pictures and send it to them, and they could start reverse engineering.
Well, they could explain it. If someone explained how, maybe they don't know how to get it to work, and then one person figured out how to get it to work.
Okay.
That's the whole Bob Lazar lore. The whole Bob Lazar lore was that they hired him to be a propulsions expert to go and back engineer this thing because they didn't know how it worked. And then initially he was like, oh, that makes sense. The reason why people keep seeing those, they're ours. Okay. And then very quickly, as he examined the thing, he's like, what the fuck is this?
Huh.
This thing designed to carry 3-foot-tall people that operates on some sort of gravity generator from an element that we haven't even stabilized yet. And it's only theoretical at that point. So that's what he says.
Oh. This is...
But I had to take you down this road because I know you're like one of those guys that calls bullshit on things. And I know you're paying attention to it because it's everywhere.
I'm very COVID focused.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm vaguely aware, but...
Just vaguely?
I would say just vaguely. I mean, I'm busy suing the government.
I understand. I understand. Are you worried when you do stuff like that?
No. I mean, we're all in the NSA database. I haven't done anything that interesting.
You're definitely in the NSA database.
Yeah, no, but we all are. So,
Yeah.
you know,
What does that mean?
what does
Yeah.
it mean exactly?
Right.
I mean, so I'm not that worried. I mean, I'm honestly, it'd be more likely that Pfizer would be interested in me, but they're not going to do anything anyway either way. I mean, you know, it's like these are court cases. You make your best case. They hire really expensive lawyers. They make their best case.
And it doesn't seem like they ever really face criminal charges.
That's right. Nobody.
They face fines.
That's right. Nobody really goes to jail. If you're a senior corporate executive, you don't go to jail. So it's so why do anything that could actually get you in trouble? Like
What's really fascinating is that, you know, their criminal charges they get hit with are often less than the profits they made.
That's right. That's right. That's true of both. You know, Eli Lilly, which is a company that I covered when I was at the New York Times. I mean, this is a funny thing. Like, these people on the left, they want to pretend that I'm some kind of conspiracy theorist. I'm the same reporter I was when I worked at the New York Times and covered the drug industry and wrote these stories. This is why I'm so aware of the games the companies play, because I've been writing about it for so long.
When you worked at the New York Times, what year was this?
This was 99 through 2010 I worked there.
Could you ever imagine that journalism would be where it's at now?
No.
Now, as a person who was there on the inside of the Gray Lady, like, what was it? Did you notice a shift while you were there?
There was a slight shift. Look, I was a business reporter. Okay, I was an investigative business reporter. They never told me don't write about this or do write about this. I mean, sometimes they told me do write about this, but they never told me, you know, don't do this. It might offend, you know, the Democratic Party or whatever. You know, that's not how it worked. And I remember going to Iraq for the paper and coming back. And some guy sent me, I was in Las Vegas actually in 2003, and some guy, I think I was getting my shoes shined, the guy next to me getting his shoes shined said, oh, it must be hard to work for the New York Times when they tell you to make things up. And I said, I was in Iraq and like I put my life on the line for that place and to get to the truth. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. And so So that was really like a responsibility and a trust that I felt to try to get to the truth. What
But
happened,
people were always cynical even back then.
oh yeah, they were
about-
cynical, but they were more wrong than what happened was that Trump got elected. Okay, Trump got elected and it broke the American media because they couldn't believe that the United States elected this guy instead of Hillary Clinton. They all wanted Hillary Clinton, certainly, and especially younger female reporters at the paper.
And she was also projected to win.
And
The
she
entire
was,
thing.
That's right. So it was like I don't know if I said this to you some previous time I was here, but there's this famous Onion headline I'll never forget from 2015. Hillary Clinton tells Nation not to fuck it up for her. And that's how it felt, right? Like I'm going to be elected whether you want me to be or not, right?
Do you think we would have been better off as a culture if she got elected?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Like, do you think that the separation, the polarization of the right and the left wouldn't have been so bad if she won? Because she was projected to win.
This stuff was happening anyway.
Right, but I wonder if that was because Trump is such a polarizing
Yeah.
figure that I think that was the tipping point.
Yeah, maybe we would. I don't know, but she didn't win. He won, right? And the media.
Not if you listen to some interviews.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Hell said he was illegitimate.
That's right. That's right. But
Russia hacked our elections.
That's right.
Remember that?
I do remember that.
That
But
used to be okay to say.
But the media hated him.
Yeah.
And he used their hate, and their hate got worse and worse, and they became openly partisan in a way they hadn't been in,
Yeah.
I don't know, in 100 years.
Yeah.
So
It was weird.
It's weird.
It's weird, and it doesn't seem like it's ever going to bounce back. And if he wins again, Jesus Louises, what is going to happen?
I don't
to
know
us?
what's going to happen next year. I mean, he could be in prison. There's a real
Yeah.
chance he could be in prison and win. I don't
Which
know
is
what that
just
looks like.
Bananas. If he goes to jail for the crimes that they're accusing him of, how long are we talking about for this?
Well, the Georgia stuff, he could do 20 years.
Oh my goodness!
I mean,
imagine he's covered. He's governing the country from his cell block. Would they allow him to have like access to phones and shit?
Oh, I
Like,
think he'd have to be the president. I think there'd be enormous pressure to let him out under those circumstances.
and then put him back in once he gets out.
That's a great question. I mean, it's unthinkable. Now, the federal stuff he could pardon himself for. It seems pretty clear.
he can pardon himself.
There's a debate about this, but he could also direct the Justice Department to drop the prosecutions. But the state stuff he can't. State stuff he doesn't control. So it's crazy. And I've increasingly concluded that it was a huge mistake to indict him. They should have presented the information because this is a political issue, not a legal issue. The political issue is, does the country want him as president? If it wants him as president, it'd be different. Okay, if you said he murdered somebody or he committed espionage, this is all. I mean, nobody really is accusing him of crimes like that. So the idea that he might be in jail and the country might have to vote in an election where one of the candidates is in prison is crazy.
Could you imagine if you're driving to work and you and the AI are just having a conversation, shooting the shit, and the AI is really funny, and the AI is your buddy? Like, Lex, what's going on, bro? What are we doing? Lex, what are we doing with this bullshit job? Fuck this place. Let's go home.
Yeah.
Let's have ice cream. And you're laughing. I got work to do. I know. I'm fucking around.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah, what are you doing with that girlfriend?
Yeah,
She keeps
come on, Lex.
she keeps being mean to you, nagging you all the time. You don't need her.
Coming off like a bitch, Lex. You don't want to do that. She's not going to respect you. You're going to have to break up with her just so she respects you.
Why don't you murder her, Lex?
Yeah, Lex. There's a way to get away with it. I'm just saying. Joking around, buddy. Joking around. Next thing you know, it's talking you into the swamp with a fucking body bag.
Did you hear the story about the guy that Googled all this stuff about like what to do with your body?
Oh my God. He Googled till like 9:30 in the morning. That sick fuck. Like, how dumb. I guess look, we know. This is fact. We know some people are just really fucking dumb. They really can't see the future. I want to know if that guy was on anything, too. I want to know if he was on any kind of psych meds. You know?
Can you tell me the story again?
Oh, some guy killed his wife, man. And they found his Google search. It's horrific. It's like how to dismember a body, how long does it take for a body to dissolve? It's like, ugh, is it best to cut someone up or move them whole? Like he just Googled the most horrific, and he did it for like the entire night into the morning.
Is there results for that in
Yeah,
a Google
look at all
search?
this. What happens if you put body parts in ammonia? How to clean blood from a wooden floor, dismemberment and the best ways to dispose of a body. Can identification be made on partial remains? How long does DNA last? Like, what the fuck, man? How long before a body starts to smell? Can he be charged with murder without a body? This guy is fucking, it's so sick. So this dude just goes through Google all night long trying to figure out how to get away with murder.
Well, he might actually get off on just asking the question, right?
No, because then
I
they
don't
found
know.
a bloody knife.
Yeah, like he went
They
to the
found-
store and
yeah,
bought
they
it.
No, I'm not
found
like
the-
pushing back. I'm just saying he might also get off on.
I don't think he's getting off at all. I
I-
don't think he has a chance of getting off.
I
That
have a
guy's-
lot of questions
They
about
found the knife.
human nature after. Maybe I'm naive in this, but I watched the Dahmer documentary.
Yeah.
No, not the documentary.
The movie.
The movie.
Yeah.
And then also the documentary is like, it gives you very different perspectives on what like.
Are you a Dahmer sympathizer now, boy?
No.
Okay.
No. But like it makes
Seemed
you
like
realize.
you're going that direction.
No, it makes you realize that some people's brain is broken,
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
and that's like,
Yeah.
and then some people's brain might be a little bit broken, and then they're still functioning members of society, but they might be extreme narcissists, they might be sociopaths, psychopaths, and you have to kind of understand that the world is full of potentially not full of, but has some charming psychopaths walking around.
100%. And some of them are probably like really successful in like hedge funds and shit.
Yeah.
You know, people that can just like move money around, and people that are CEO of certain companies that might be making products that kill people.
Interesting.
No body, lots of Googling, murder case against Brian Walsh, may be hard to prove, experts say. But I thought they had a knife in the blood.
This was it's a couple days ago, so Friday, I guess. This
Oh,
couple days ago.
okay. I had read that they found a bloody knife. Just the whole thing is so fucked. But I want to know if he's on something. I'd be really fascinated because there's certain drugs that will like alleviate. You won't worry about shit. So maybe he's like not worrying about like Googling all this stuff. Oh, it's all gonna work out. You know, I'm gonna kill her, but it's all gonna work out. And he's like Googling, or he might be on speed. You know, a lot of people are on speed, man. A lot of people are on Adderall. It's fucking stunning. It's stunning how many like hyped up people we have out there are really like, we have a speed culture. It makes you very efficient. You get shit done. You got plenty of energy, and some people love it. Mm-hmm. And like, how much is that flavoring our culture? Wouldn't it be nice to get rid of that, Lex? Just phase that out.
All drugs? Yeah, in general.
All problems with the mind.
Mm-hmm.
We could phase
Mushrooms
it out.
only.
Well, you could do it that way, but that takes a lot of work. Or we could just genetically engineer it from the jump. No more emotions.
No more emotions. Because emotions, you know, life is suffering, Dostoevsky and Nietzsche. Ultimately, you're going to, every good thing you have, eventually going to lose. Every hello with the person you love is eventually going to be a goodbye. Why say hello ever?
Why
ever?
say hello ever again? Also, why? Why does it have to be like that? Like, we have this idea in our head that this way we live is like ultimately, because to us it provides emotions, and because it creates dilemmas and solutions and conflict and resolution. There's so much going on in our minds all the time when it comes to interacting with each other that we feel like it's imperative for existence. But why? It's just because it's the only way we've known. You know, you have to suffer in order, but why do you have to suffer in order to be happy? Wouldn't it be better if you're just happy? Like, do we really fucking need to suffer? Couldn't that be engineered out? Now, this is coming from a person who purposely suffers all the time so that I could stay happy. And it does work. But God, do I have to do it that way?
Well, there's an incredible computation machine we call evolution that has constructed human beings. You want to mess with that? You want to get a few software engineers from San Francisco to mess with the computation system that is evolution, that is Earth.
Yes.
This giant computer that for billions of years spent 1 billion years on bacteria trying to figure shit out before it advanced. And now it went through all of these incredible stages. This entire ecosystem that we call life on Earth, probably planted here by aliens. That and recently these monkeys started to get super clever. And now we're going to completely change everything.
Yes. You know why?
Why?
Because that's a part of it.
Yeah.
That is a part of evolution, is the monkeys figuring out how to fuck with everything.
Well, that's probably why we haven't have any definitive evidence of aliens from out there, because the monkeys eventually start fucking with things and destroy themselves.
They turn themselves into starfish. Whoops. Yeah, you're a super genius for like 6 months, and then you become a fucking jellyfish.
I mean, that's a threat.
Yeah.
Maybe we're. I mean, there's so many possible trajectories here that end up in what we would think of as boring.
I had a
which is
very interesting conversation with Eric Weinstein, and we're going to talk about it on the podcast from a physics standpoint. He's very perplexed about the UFO thing, and what's interesting is like he's one of those guys, like a lot of very smart people that were like, it's all horseshit, it's all bullshit. But now he's come around to what the fuck is going on.
What's his take?
Well, he doesn't have a take necessarily, but he's looking at all the data and all the evidence. We're going to have like a whole long conversation about it. But essentially, there's one of two possibilities. Either this shit is coming from somewhere else or it's coming from here. So either we or someone has some real legitimate groundbreaking technology, or someone's visiting us from somewhere else. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's one of the, because now there's enough data that show that these things are moving in a way that they can't understand. There's video that they're moving in a way they can't understand. They're not showing a heat signature from visible means of propulsion. It's not like a rocket. It's like whatever they're doing something different. And then Commander David Fravor, who you talked to, that Tic Tac experience, if they really did track something that went from above 50,000 feet above sea level to 50 feet in less than a second, what the fuck is that? Like, if that's real, we're assuming that all their calibration was on and all their equipment worked together, but it was multiple different visual sightings of this thing too. Different jets saw it, different people, uniform story. Everybody's talked about how it just moved off at insane rates of speed. And then there's all these other ones like Ryan Long and all these other people that he flew with that are seeing these similar behaviors from these things where they just disappear. They move off at insane rates of speed. So it's one of two things. Either he said there's been some sort of parallel science, some science that's going on where nobody knew about it, and all the top physicists were completely unaware of this tech. And they were developing it independently in some fucking lab in the mountains for the government, or aliens, or someone else. Or someone else.
There's a bunch of other options, and one thing is, I just talked to David Kipping. It's just I highly recommend his YouTube channel, Cool Worlds. He's a legit. It's like Huberman. You sometimes get these like legit scientists who are also good communicators. They'll step up.
Oh, nice.
So he's like the Huberman of astronomy. Young guy. You'll probably have him on eventually. I'm betting.
Sure.
There's.
I'll have him on.
He's brilliant. Definitely check out his channel. Anyway, he's an astronomer, so he's deep in the astronomy, astrophysics community, and he says, and you've said this before too, is he tries to really hard not to think about stuff he wants to be true, like be very kind of calibrated properly, because with the UFO sightings, there is a part of you. I don't know why exactly, but you kind of want it to be true.
Not kinda. Like all the way. I want like 98% of it to be true.
And there you have to be a little bit careful. But yeah, definitely, like to me, it feels like the scientific development that we're doing now with Starship, so SpaceX and Starship, with all the advancement in telescopes, we're just getting more and more and more data to where we're not going to have these shitty videos. We're going to have high resolution understanding. And because it's becoming more okay to talk about aliens, I think the actual scientific community has a bigger humility about the topic, to where they're expanding of their like the window of their study to consider all kinds of physical phenomena, all kinds of observation, all kinds of sources of data and signals and so on, to where we would, I would hope we would get definitive signals of alien life.
Yeah, definitive.
Like
when you look at the capabilities of satellites today, like satellite imagery, how good are they? And how many of them are up there that they could direct to a very specific area and get really good video or photographs?
It's incredible. It's
Right.
really, really good.
So why
and with
wouldn't they just
Starlink, they're going
call
to cover
in?
the whole. Well, you're talking about going from thousands to tens of thousands to potentially hundreds of thousands in a couple of decades.
But are they capable of imagery, the Starlink ones?
Yeah, yes, they're all capable of imagery, but they're not. That's not their purpose.
Right.
So like it all
that's
depends.
for internet. But what about for visual? when they have spy satellites or satellites that can look down and see everything that's going on in the city? How good are those? They say they can read license plates from space.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that real?
I think that's real. Yeah.
Okay. But how prevalent are they?
That's that. I don't know, because like the capability I think is there to high resolution image everything, but I don't know how much how much desire there is for that kind of application, because there's so much more for other kinds of applications. So like low resolution imaging for mapping purposes and so on, imaging for military purposes, there's applications, but that's like very specific kind of application. I just don't know. It's like James Webb Telescope, right? There's like huge battles going on what that thing should do, because there's a lot of it's a constrained resource. You have to battle what are the interesting questions, where should it look, what's the resolution of data, where in the sky should collect that data, how frequent, and so on.
Yeah.
In that same kind of way, there's probably battles over satellite resources of what should it be doing.
Sure. Especially with intelligence agencies and stuff.
Especially because the intelligence agencies are probably resisting this UFO stuff.
If I was an evil dictator,
Yeah.
and I wanted to get my government to have control over the skies and to be able to see anything from anywhere at any time, and I wanted to like have mass surveillance drones in the sky above cities, a good way would be aliens. But we have to capture these things on video, and there's only one way. We're going to deploy these high-resolution video cameras in the sky and capture everything. And there's sightings every day. It won't be a matter of time before we have real high-resolution photo of something we can definitively prove is not ours, is not of this earth.
Well, do you think
people would sign the fuck up?
You think there's that much excitement about aliens? Like, I'm not like it's ultimately why are aliens so interesting? Because to me, philosophically and scientifically, it's a super interesting question.
Yeah.
Like, just even the question, are we alone? That's really exciting. But it's not, do you think people would vote to pay for that versus to pay for...
You don't want them voting for that. Just do it. Just
Oh,
do it.
dictator,
And they'll
right,
go, okay. Just tell them it's imperative. Just like the fucking, these bills that get passed.
Yeah.
We're not voting on those bills,
Yeah.
right? Representatives, they just do it. They just do it. They just put them in the sky. The aliens are coming. We got to do something. That would be the new climate change. It's like aliens. Oh, the aliens are coming. And you're either with us against the aliens or you're with the aliens. What are you, a fucking traitor? You're going to give us up to the aliens, you piece of shit? And so there's going to be some sort of a ideological conflict on Earth, whether or not we donate money to the defenses. Like the Democrats who want to defend against the aliens, the Republicans are going to be like, hey, let's just hear them talk first. And we're going to have a fucking giant dilemma here.
Yeah, I mean, I hope aliens are, if they're out there, I hope they're detectable by us humans and we can interact with them, probably not communicate with them. But from my perspective, you have to be humble. Advanced alien civilizations are probably so sophisticated that we dumb descendants of apes cannot possibly even detect them.
I have a feeling there's all sorts of ways that they could be. And some of them could be undetectable. They're They might be made of light. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But other ones are going to be just a little bit ahead of us. There's an infinite number of them.
Yeah,
and there's going to be an infinite number of
us.
ones. Sure they will. If they're 1,000 years ahead of us, you don't think they can get to us?
Yeah, space travel is really difficult. Yeah.
Sure, it is. But if they figure out some new technology within 1,000 years, that's not outside the realm of possibility.
For sure. But then they have figured out all other kinds of technologies that enable them to navigate complicated life forms that are unlike them, and to be able to study them and to manipulate them and all that kind of stuff.
Without them knowing about it.
Without them knowing about it. Why would you have them know about it?
Well, the idea could be that you want to kind of plant the seeds of this idea because it's so shocking to the psyche of these very fragile apes.
Yeah, you have to be careful with the fragile apes.
Yeah, you would have to. You have to think about what we are, right? We're real close to like what we were 1,000,000 years ago. We're real close to like very violent, hair-covered, barbaric animals. And now we have thermonuclear weapons. And now we have satellite imagery and cell phones, and we're close to some new thing. And I think if I was an alien, I would want to watch. I would want to watch this very bizarre transition because, like, if you could study, look, think about all the things we go to study that are so boring. I mean, guys dedicate their whole lives to find a new fern, you know, and what are we? You know, we're the most fascinating fucking thing in the known universe by far. If we didn't know about people, and if we were some logical creature from somewhere else and we found people, and we would be like, holy shit! You know, wait till you see these fucking guys. They vote. They have a popularity contest. See who controls the weapons. They're all like obviously paid off by these corporations and special interest groups, and everybody's like, oh, I don't get it. These politicians, they make hundreds of millions of dollars on a job that pays $100,000 a year, and we're like, what? What the fuck is going on?
Well, if they're observing us, do you think humans stand out that much?
Yes.
From the rest of life on Earth? Because it could be the same kind of life force that you just described. Some basic stuff, some basic dynamics of interactions between species that could be equally as fascinating as the interaction between ants.
Well, I think those are fascinating too. I don't think anybody would think that ants aren't fascinating. Ants are fascinating to us. I'm sure ants would be fascinating to someone from another planet that doesn't know what ants are. But ants can't nuke the whole fucking planet 100 times over and be pointing weapons at each other. And like we have a weird ability to change the surface of the Earth. We've created these structures that rise hundreds and hundreds of feet into the sky. They're all made out of glass. Like, we're wild. We're so different than any other animal. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of fascinating other animals. Lions are fascinating. Zebras are fascinating. Everything's fascinating, but not like us. No. If you came here from another planet, the first thing you'd go is like, these crazy talking monkeys are out of control. And you would just start rattling off what they do. You talk about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. You would talk about rock stars. You would talk about the internet. You would talk about TikTok, about phone addictions. People would think it's fascinating.
Or, just like ChatGPT and GPT-1, 2, and 3, they see that as a trivial consequence of evolution, that you just increase the computational power of the brain, you're going to start getting these kinds of interactions because they know what happens in the next 1,000 years. They understand the general trajectory. It's going to be, we don't know that trajectory. It could be AI, and then there's stages in the development of AI and the kind of system it creates. Maybe it'll be one collective intelligence that encompasses the whole world, to where it's no longer individual entities. It's one intelligence that's trying to solve nuclear fusion and achieve type 1 Kardashev scale civilization that's then able to become a multiplanetary species. They know this whole development is trivial to them. They're going to yawn, and then, or maybe they know that this is the stage where it's inevitable that these creatures destroy themselves, because like in order to achieve this level of intelligence, there has to be a fundamental desire for conflict, and the better the weapons get, the more the conflict will enable them to destroy themselves. If not through nuclear weapons, then through AI, through genetic engineering, through all kinds of stuff.
Matt, maybe that's where aliens come in. And maybe what aliens are is like a caretaker of this process.
Yeah.
Which is why, you know, one of the things about UFO folklore, when they dropped Fat Man and Little Boy, when they dropped those bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, like UFO sightings, there was a pretty big uptick.
Yeah.
And we're talking about like, why do people want it? Why do they want the aliens to be there? I think because we realize how many questions we have. We realize like how little we really know. We know so much, but so little, and we don't have much time. We live for 100 years if everything goes great. We don't know what's right in terms of nutrition. Someone will tell you this is terrible for you. Another one will tell you that's essential for human development. You're like, what? We don't know what's the right way to educate people. You hear that our school systems are great; they just need more funding. And you hear, no, they were designed to make factory workers out of rural people. They were designed to take like people that had they were wild folks and make them sit in a fucking chair and do everything and go by factory bells every day. Well, both those things are true. The real Rick Ross,
right.
Yeah.
That guy's very interesting.
He was very interesting. He's the guy who was in charge of selling the drugs in South Central that was funding the Contras versus the Sandinistas.
I mean, it's just such. But anyway, you outsource that, and then you have deniability
Yes.
or whatever. That's how that works.
That's how it works, and you can make so much money. Or what would you rather do? Let all these other people make money doing it? These bad people?
yeah. Somebody's
We
gotta
have
make
to sell the
that.
drugs. If
Some-
the CIA
yeah.
doesn't sell the drugs, who's going to sell the drugs?
And
Criminals.
also for a good cause.
Yeah. Imagine if that's how they've been like funding things forever.
Well,
Imagine if you found out that that's how they fund the UFO program.
Well, you know what I wonder about that, because that Bob Lazar episode was very creepy when I watched the thing.
Yeah.
But to him talking about it, it was
Yeah.
eerie to hear him talk about it.
It was very confusing because what he's saying is so out there. You
Yeah.
don't know. I'm like, I'm definitely a fool. But am I being a fool here?
Yeah, no, that's the little eerie part of it. But then, who would control? Like, do you think the president gets to find out about it, or do you think it's purely?
Supposedly Nixon knew, and Nixon took Jackie Gleason.
Yeah, that I know. That's
and
a
Jackie
good story.
Gleason built a house out of the shape of the UFO that he saw, like to represent the UFO that he saw. And like the Jackie Gleason house was for sale just a few years ago. It's in like, what is it in like upstate New York? I found out about this from this dude who gave me the book Best Evidence by David Lifton. He was like a guitarist in a band. That's it. That's the UFO inspired upstate New York house. Look at his fucking house. So
Wait, that's not that big a house.
well, it wasn't that big a house because he wanted to make it like the fucking UFO. So what it was
I see.
see
Multiple properties.
Oh, I see.
So he just
But
started
one of them
making
looked
UFO
like a
houses.
He apparently, this is the rumor. What the rumor was that Jackie Gleason got drunk with Nixon, and Nixon's like, "You want to see a fucking flying saucer?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yes." And then they flew to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. I believe
Right.
was the rumor, and they showed him like we have
Like
actually
they had freezers
recovered-
of them, right? They had them in
I don't know if
freezers?
that's real.
Oh.
I've never heard anybody say that they saw a body and have it be like 100% credible. Other than maybe that Travis Walton guy who claims to have been abducted in the 1970s. He's
Yeah.
another one of those guys. Like, if he's telling the truth. Okay, there are a number of labs we passed through before I entered a section. Nixon pointed out what he said was the wreckage of a flying saucer
Yeah.
enclosed in several large cases. Next, we went to an inner chamber. There were 6 or 8 what looked like glass-topped Coke freezers. Inside them were the mangled remains of what I took to be children. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's the thing I remember was from this story.
So I'm conflating this with something else. So that's right. They did have fucking supposedly dead frozen ones. The revelation of the U.S. Secretary holding the corpses of dead aliens shook Gleason to the core, and he couldn't eat or sleep for weeks. After being confronted by his wife, Beverly, Gleason told her the truth about that night and swore her to secrecy, but Jackie and Beverly Gleason were already in the process of separating. The final straw in the relationship would be Beverly breaking her vow and revealing the encounter to the magazine Esquire in 1974 as a teaser for a book she was writing about her relationship with the tempestuous, hard-drinking Jackie. Oh, the wife sold him down the
I
river.
wonder what that article. So that article was this where this story first came out.
Yeah, I guess so. And stung and humiliated by the betrayal, Jackie stayed silent until 1986. Finally, ready to talk, he invited Larry Warren, a flying saucer evangelist, author, and eyewitness to the Randall Sam... Oops. Fucking pop-ups. No, I don't want your pop-up. No thanks. Thank you. Where were we? 86. Eyewitness to the Rendell Sam Forest UFO incident to his New York home. After a few drinks, Gleason unloaded the whole unbelievable tale to an astonished Warren, who spread the story amongst his community. However, the story would end there. Gleason died a year later, having only told his ex-wife and Warren about the once-in-a-lifetime adventure with Nixon. The tale would spread like wildfire with the advent of the internet, confirming what UFO believers already knew. The government knows everything about aliens, but reveal it only to the privileged few. Huh. Okay, of course, because this is the blog of Skeptoid and not Believe Everything. Oh, this is Skeptoid that wrote this. You read on the Internoid, the story doesn't end there. In fact, there really is no story. The Richard Nixon, Jackie Gleason, Dead Alien Chronicle in a glass case tale, now accepted part of UFO internet lore, is based almost entirely on hearsay, coincidence, or an imagination, and not just the dead alien children in the case part. Wait a minute. Why do they say that?
Wait, was the Esquire magazine?
What is their reasoning for saying that it's not true? They're saying it's anecdotal, which is obviously it's anecdotal. Scroll up a little bit more. Yeah. So it says, as critical thinkers, we can't dismiss a story out of hand because it's preposterous, but we can dismiss a story if the facts don't fit together. Aha. So let's start with the established facts. Richard Nixon, Jackie Gleason, Beverly Gleason, and Larry Warren were all real people. Beverly and Jackie Gleason were really married, got divorced in 74, 75. Jackie and Richard Nixon are friends and played golf on a few occasions. Jackie was an enthusiast about paranormal topics with a huge collection of books on the subjects. Florida is a real place. Homestead Air Force Base. Esquire is a real magazine. That's about it. A little investigation into Nixon's daily diary reveals that Nixon was in Key Biscayne on February 19, 1973 for a meeting with the AFL-CIO. He spent less than 40 minutes speaking and glad-handing with guests at Gleason's annual golf tournament at the Invery Golf and Country Club, which... at most 10 minutes available to chat with Gleason about UFOs. Nothing else in Nixon's diary indicates that the president did or didn't slip his Secret Service detail and go on an alien adventure with Ralph Cramden. But that doesn't mean he didn't do it. That just means he didn't write about it in his diary. Why would he write about that in his diary? Where the story really starts to fall apart is Beverly Gleason's interview with Esquire, because it doesn't appear to exist. Interesting.
Yeah, that's
a search of both Esquire's archives and internet in general turned up nothing. What did turn up, however, was an article supposedly written by Beverly from the National Enquirer, dated August 16th in 1983. Discerning readers will note that the Esquire and the Enquirer have different thresholds for veracity and adjust their expectations accordingly. That's a very good sentence right there.
Yeah.
It's very well worded.
Yeah.
So it seems like there was no Esquire article, so that's bullshit.
Yeah, the Enquirer back then, I remember it being closer to Weekly World News than, because Enquirer became like celebrity gossip entirely, right? When I was a kid, I remember it having wilder stuff in it.
Okay, in short, the piece makes Jackie look like a lunatic, befitting a spurned wife writing a tell-all about her famous ex-husband, but the book wouldn't show Jack as he's never been seen before to anyone because Beverly never published it. The Gleason UFO story got picked up by a few other tabloids, but mostly faded into obscurity. So here's the thing, though. You could, for sure, imagine that his ex-wife wanted to sell a book.
Yeah.
You could also, for sure, imagine that Jackie would try to stop that book from being sold.
Yeah, right.
Can I ask you, this is slightly off topic, what is News Nation?
What is News Nation? I don't know what News
Do you
Nation
know what
is.
News
No,
Nation
I don't
is?
know what News Nation is.
Is News Nation a real channel?
I believe so.
I was watching News Nation today, and I may or may not have been high. And when I was watching, I was like, this has all the feeling of like a fake news show that someone put together. Like, it felt like if I was the government and I was going to make a news show without Hollywood people, without actual like real sound people and engineers, this is how I'd make it. I'd make it like this. I'd make it real clunky. I'd make the lights all fucked up. I'd make everybody like weirdly uncharismatic.
According to Wiki, it's the same company behind like WGN, which is based out of Chicago, which is like a large superstation available on most cable channels.
Okay.
Or
So
like
it's like
Cubs
a cable channel that decided to make a news channel.
That's what
Do you
this
guys do
says.
you know about Acronym?
No.
So Acronym happens to be a Democratic political action group, lavishly funded, and they have they do this. They have a network of basically fake news sites,
Oh.
and they all look like they're like local newspapers.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so there's I don't know whether this one is AstroTurf, but there the term AstroTurf. There's a lot of AstroTurfing that takes place.
Can you explain AstroTurfing?
So AstroTurfing is when basically something shows up in public, and it might be a news story, or it might be a protest of some kind, or a petition, right? Some sort of political pressure action that is sort of manufactured to look as if it was organic, right? Sort of real turf, natural. Whereas in reality, it's basically been programmed by a political activist group with specific funding.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And a lot of what we sort of think of as the politics of our time, if you trace the money, it turns out a lot of the stuff that shows up in the news is AstroTurfed, and then the advanced form of that is to AstroTurf the news, right itself. And then again, back to the training data thing, it's like, okay, can you get all that stuff out of the training data? If that stuff's in the training data, how big of an impact does it have?
The thing about this News Nation. The thing about this News Nation is they're spending an inordinate amount of time on UFOs, an inordinate amount of time on this David Grush case, and I'm increasingly more suspicious. I'm increasingly more skeptical. Like the more I see, the more people confirming it, the more I'm like, something's not right. And then to see that this channel is the one that's covering it the most, I'm like, this seems like something's off.
Senator Rubio, who's on the Senate Intelligence Committee and has all the clearances, gave an interview the other day where he went into quite a bit of detail, and
Yeah, I
he's
saw it.
at least heavily hinting that there's
He's heavily hinting that he talked to someone that says that there's something.
that there are real. Well,
Yeah.
he's sort of hinting that there are real whistleblowers with real knowledge.
I want to talk to the guy that sees the ship. That's it.
Yes.
No one else.
Yes.
All this, I talked to a guy who says that they have these things.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
I want to see the fucking ship.
Yeah.
And until then, I just feel like I'm being hosed.
Yeah.
It just seems too laid out on a platter.
Yeah. And of course, one of the theories is it's an AstroTurf story. Like, is that an AstroTurf story? Is that a manufactured story that's being used to distract from?
Would it be to distract from, or would it be to cover up some sort of a secret program, some military drone program or something of the like?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's been rumors for a long time that the original UFOs, right, where basically it was a disinformation program covering up for the skunk works, the development of like stealth fighters and bombers and all these programs in the 50s and 60s. But
Interesting.
I don't know if that's ever been proven.
Well, I'm sure probably some experimental craft were mistaken for UFOs.
Yeah. If
For
you see
sure.
a stealth fighter for the first time,
I saw one for the first time.
it's pretty crazy.
I saw one right around September 11. We were filming Fear Factor in California, and I was out near Edwards Air Force Base, and I got to see one fly overhead. It's magic. It's like, wow.
Yep.
Like complete Star Wars. Like as it's flying, like this is crazy.
Yep.
And if you didn't know that was a thing, 100% you would think that's from another world.
Yep. Exactly.
And I can imagine that was developed what year? How long ago? How many decades ago?
40 or 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, look at that thing. If you'd be like, they're coming. Oh, my God, they're coming. But if you can imagine that was 40 or 50 years ago, 40 or 50 years of advancement, like who knows what they're doing now.
Yep, exactly.
And if I was going to cover it up, I would just start talking about aliens.
You know.
It's the best way to do it. Don't you think?
It's a crowd pleaser.
Do you have an opinion on that? Or is this something that you find ridiculous until there's like real data?
I like living in a world where there are unknowns. I like there being some mystery. So I like
How far do you go? You go Bigfoot?
I don't know. I just I'm not even saying I need to have a point of view on them. It's more just by the way, there is a UFO right behind you.
Yeah.
You
I'm aware of
probably
that.
know all about that.
I'm obsessed with UFOs.
Lifting somebody right up into the air.
Look, there's one on the desk. That's the model of the Bob Lazar craft that he worked on supposedly at Area 51.
There we go. It looks familiar. Look, I want there to be mystery, right? I want there to be
Yeah.
unknowns. Like living in a world where everything is settled, quote unquote settled. No. Let's have some mystery. I don't even know if I really want to know.
Really?
It's like I don't know.
Oh, I think if you know, that's just the tip of the iceberg of the mystery. I think knowing that aliens do exist is just the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, okay, did they engineer us?
Uh-huh.
You know, when did they start visiting?
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, are the stories from the Bhagavad Gita, is that about UFOs? Like, you know?
Have they been here the whole time?
Yeah, have they been here the whole time? Do they come every now and then and make sure we don't blow ourselves up? Like, what's the purpose?
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm in favor of
Come
that.
on,
Okay,
man.
all right,
You want to
okay,
know?
Okay. All right. I'm in.
If anybody's going to know, you're going to know. So I'm going to call you.
So Elon says this. Elon says he hasn't seen anything.
Yeah, I'm super suspicious when he says that. Super
suspicious that they haven't told him, or that he's maybe playing a little hide the ball.
If I was him, I'd play hide the ball.
Yeah.
If I'm running SpaceX, I'm working with NASA, and I already got in trouble smoking weed on a Joe Rogan experience. I would fucking play ball.
You got the one strike.
Let's play ball. Aliens, I have no evidence.
No idea.
They sure are subtle.
Yep.
That's what he says. They sure are subtle. It depends on who you are. If you're one of those people that's seen those things, if you're like Commander David Fravor, or if you're Ryan Graves, you know the Ryan Graves story?
No.
The fighter pilot, and they upgraded their equipment in 2014, and all of a sudden, because of the new capabilities of their equipment, they were able to see these objects at a far distance that were moving at insane rates of speed, that were hovering dead still at 120 knot winds,
Right.
and no visible means of propulsion. They don't know what the fuck they're doing,
Right.
and they were encountering them like every couple of weeks. And then there was some pilots were encountering them with eyewitness accounts. They say there's video footage of it, but of course nobody can get a hold of that. It's like the whole thing is very strange.
Okay, so here's something. So the a lot of people worried about AI are like, we need to shut it down before it like causes problems. Before
Right.
It, like wake up the demon, cause an issue, get something on Earth that hates us and wants to kill us. Arguably the thing we should have shut down from the very beginning was radio.
Radio.
Right, because we've been like broadcasting radio waves for the last 100, 120 years, and the radio waves don't stop once they leave Earth's atmosphere. They keep going. And so we now have radio waves of human activity that have radiated out 120 light years.
Is that bad?
Well, depends. Are there hostile aliens within 120 light years? And so but maybe that was the original sin. And then of course television, of course, made that problem much worse.
Right. We would have to think of like a hostile, militaristic empire that took over a whole planet and then started exploring the solar system. Not one that we like to think of aliens as being evolved, hyper intelligent, beyond ego and war. They've bypassed all that, and now they're into science and exploration. And
well, here's the question though: is like, would aliens have a sense of humor, right? Would they like be able to differentiate between truth and fiction, right? And so, like for example, suppose they're sitting in their advanced alien base on Gemini 9 or whatever, and they're receiving 30 years, 20 years after the fact episodes of Fear Factor, right? And they think that you're actually like torturing people, and they figure that in order to preserve the human rights of humanity, they need to invade as a consequence of your show and take over and protect us.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, but if they don't have a sense of humor, if they don't know
even if they don't have a sense of humor, they can clearly see that these people are in a contest.
Why would they even have a concept of a contest? I mean, how silly is that? A serious species.
It's competition.
Wouldn't do such things.
But a serious species started out as a dumb species.
No,
unless they're magic.
You're hoping that they understand these things.
Yes.
Because it would really suck to be the guy whose TV show caused the invasion.
If there's anything, it would be American Gladiators.
Oh, okay, all right.
That would be the start of it.
It'd be like this species is so warlike they can't stop.
No, what would be like the start? What would be the one thing that would be like, that's enough? It would have to be news. It would have to be war. I mean, that would be, forget about Fear Factor.
Yep.
We're broadcasting, the images of the Vietnam War.
Yeah, or maybe they saw movies about alien invasions and they thought we'd been invaded by other aliens.
Right.
Yeah,
like what
see?
if Mars attacks is the first things they get?
Exactly.
So you like having the mystery of the idea out there. Like it's fun for you.
I don't want ever. We need adventure, right?
If someone came to you, someone from on high, and said, "Listen, we have to promise you to secrecy, but we want to show you some things because I think it's pertinent to some of the things you're working on."
I'm in.
Yeah. Me too.
I'm gonna drop my.
Me too. I'm not telling nobody. I'll come in here and be just like Elon.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, they'll show all subtle.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just too interesting to know.
Yep.
But I think eventually I'd tell.
Yep.
I think I'd feel terrible.
Yep.
I'd feel a responsibility.
Yep.
Yeah.
Someday.
Well, that's what some of these guys are saying. Like Grush, he's saying that once he found out about the program, he felt like he had a responsibility. Like if they really have a crashed UFO retrieval program, like why don't you tell people? Like you should not. The military companies shouldn't be the ones that have access to this only, and the whoever is determining that this is above top secret clearance and nobody can get a hold of it except for this very select few people. Like says who? This is something that involves the whole human race.
Right.
Like I know if they do had something, I would imagine that it's of interest to national security that you develop this kind of technology before the competitors do. That clearly makes sense.
So then what technologies came out of it in the last 50 years?
Well, if you want to go full tinfoil hat, there's a lot of speculation that fiber optics were developed after a recovered crashed UFO. I mean, I'm sure it sounds silly because there's probably a real paper trail to the development of fiber optics. But if you, the real kooks believe that. There was actually a website, a computer company called American Computer Company. And it was a legitimate computer company. You would order a computer with whatever specifications you want, and they would build it for you. But they had a whole section of their website that was dedicated to crashed retrieval of UFOs and the development of various technologies. And they had like this tracing back to Bell Labs and why the military base was outside of Bell Labs when it was so far from New York City that it was really just about protecting the lab because they were working with these top secret materials that they had recovered from Roswell.
Don't you think it'd be more like trans fats, though?
What's that?
Trans fats,
What
or
about trans
like
fats?
reality TV, or like LSD, population or SSRIs, like population control suppression.
But when you start with what you've got a guy who was living in Vegas, was taking these flights out to Area S4, knows the place, knows it inside out, can describe it very accurately. Also worked at Los Alamos
this
Labs,
proves he was
describes
there.
that very
Right,
accurately.
right.
Yeah,
It proves he worked there.
yeah. And
But
also
I-
proves he's also a legitimate scientist.
But what
I
if-
mean, when you talk to the guy, he's a brilliant guy. He's
But-
not a nut.
Right.
But what?
Are you saying aliens?
That doesn't mean aliens.
No, I'm just asking. Like, so
It doesn't mean aliens, but that's what he was told.
Right.
What he was told is this is something that has come from somewhere else, and they're trying to figure out how to work it, how to use
what
it.
if we're in a simulation and this was something that was leftover code, or it wasn't supposed to be placed in this certain iteration?
Or what if there's multiple dimensions that we don't
Yeah.
have access to, and that these things do?
My favorite, I don't want to call it a conspiracy theory, but one of my favorite stories is humanity emerged on Venus and that we destroyed the planet with a greenhouse effect. So we created the Ark Project and took the DNA of 2 of every animal and loaded up on the last vessel, the Ark, and went to terraform Earth. And
That's the dumbest idea ever.
It's hilarious,
The
though.
DNA of 2 of each animal, and then how many copies of those things do you make before they eat each other?
They got
You have to have
anti-grav tech. They just started seeding the planet, and what people do. I'm not saying I think it's a fun story. They argue that the Bible was like the stories being told and retranslated over hundreds of years to a lost civilization that had only one ship escape the destruction of their planet. And I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying it's a fun story. I love that story.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It would be a fun sci-fi movie.
And then you end up with lost tech being discovered
Well, you have
thousands of
people
years
like
on.
Elon that say we have to get off of Earth. There's so many people that say we have to escape Earth. We have to sort of colonize the solar system or colonize the galaxy.
I agree. And I think if we don't discover a better propulsion than hard chemical energy, we're not going to do it. So
Yeah, well, that's why this is so compelling. This idea that they're using some element that apparently is impossible to find here. You can only create it with a particle collider, but maybe in whatever solar system they are coming from, you have a very different environment, and maybe this element was the primary source for fuel. Maybe they figured that out a long time ago.
I wonder if I'd love to talk to an actual physicist about this. Is there something with negative density?
What's that mean?
So, like, things with density create an attraction through gravity because the pressure that their influence on space time. I'm not an astrophysicist, so I can't explain it to you perfectly. But the larger, the more dense the object, the more pull it has. So like a very dense black hole, for instance, sucks you in. Then Mars has slightly less gravity than us because it's less dense. I wonder if there's something. Again, this probably, I'm sure there's some scientists laughing right now. What a moron. But negative density, something that would actually have a push effect in terms of gravity. In which case, you could have some kind of object where you can control, expand, and contract density so that you're pushing and pulling.
I don't know. Bob Lazar's perspective is if we showed a nuclear reactor to a civilization from the 1400s, they would think we're doing witchcraft.
The Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, they would think it is absolutely the craziest thing that anyone has ever seen or heard. They would try to tamper with it. They'd all get radiation poisoning and die. They'd never be able to figure it out in a million years. If you just left it with them, if you left some sort of a nuclear reactor with them. And he said this is really how far advanced he believes these aliens, or whatever you want to call them, are, that their science, their technology is indistinguishable from magic because they're so far ahead of us.
Do you think they'd want to be involved with us beyond
Of course
just
they
testing
would.
us, though?
Why wouldn't you? We study butterflies. We study mice. We
Right.
study bugs on the other side of the planet. We send people on scientific journeys to go and look at frogs that they're
but
not even sure are real anymore.
Are we giving guns to chimps? Are we building forts for them and teaching them to use stone? And I mean, we've seen now. There's more videos coming out showing. I can't remember which primate species, but using more tools.
Yeah, well, they
spear
believe
hunting
that
and stuff.
They believe that primates, chimps, have entered the Stone Age.
Yeah.
They're using them on a regular basis.
Are we going to go and teach them agriculture? I mean, do we care?
Dude, we teach chimps things all the time. We
But in
teach chimps
enclosed
but
environments where
because that's the only way you can study them.
Yeah.
We teach. I mean, if they had a civilization you can go to, you knew they lived in an apartment, and you could study them that way. But you don't think that they would study if they found a planet Like, let's imagine if we found a planet, okay? We found a planet and it's all just filled with octopus. And these octopus are changing colors and just jacking fish and eating lobsters. We would be fascinated.
Totally.
We'd be fascinated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, all innovation happens because people are trying to improve on initial designs. Now, why do they try to improve on initial designs? They try to make things that are better, make things that are more efficient, make things that can do tasks that they can't do without these tools, and then their curiosity and their creativity causes them to expand upon these ideas. Well, of course, if something's going to be so far advanced that they didn't accept their current place in the universe. They don't even accept the fact they want to stay on this planet. They want to travel to other places. Do you know how fucking insanely curious you'd have to be to lock you and 3 of your other 3-foot buddies in a giant fucking flying saucer and propel yourself through space?
Oh, yeah.
You would have to be incredibly curious and incredibly, not just curious, but innovative. They would have to be thinking about things. They would have to be exploring things. And of course, you would want to come to a planet that is filled with people who have hundreds of different languages. They're all full of shit. They lie to each other constantly, send videos through the air. They have weapons that they could blow each other up with.
Yeah.
I mean, of course you would be fascinated by that. I think that's the least compelling argument that anybody ever says. Why would they mess with us? Why would they care about us? Of course they would care about us. We are fucking interesting, man.
Well, I'll put it this way. I think if we saw like a group of chimps standing near a waterbed, and then one chimp fashions some kind of bag and pulls it over its head, jumps in the water, and tries to go as low as he can for as long as he can before coming back out, we would look at that like, that is the stupidest attempt at scuba diving I've ever seen, but oh my God, a chimp just tried to scuba dive. So if there are aliens and they're in these amazing technologically advanced ships that can jump light speed, manipulate gravity, they just watched us strap ourselves to an explosive and fire us off of our atmosphere where we're likely to die, and they're like, this is the stupidest attempt at actually going to space. These guys are trying to go to space.
I wouldn't think about that way at all. I would think about, look, there's a fucking space station. It's up there, and people live on it. They shoot themselves. They have a very crude form of propulsion,
right?
But they've figured it out because they don't have element 115 in their environment naturally. So these dummies have to light things on fire and use the push off the back of it to shove themselves through normal air.
And you know why they're not going to give us that tech right now?
Why would they give us tech? Why do you say give us tech?
Why they wouldn't? I'm saying,
but why would they give us tech? Why would any... that's the weirdest argument ever, that they're giving us things. I don't think they're giving us shit.
No, I don't think so either. I think they're specifically not doing it, and they wouldn't do it even if we wanted them to. I think it's an inverse. People. I mean, a lot of people talk about how they're like sharing technology with us or something, right? You see that stuff in the
I've heard those conspiracies.
The reason they won't is because we're territorial. We fight each other.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So look, if they came down and went to Russia and said, here's anti-grav propulsion, what do you think Russia's going to do? All right, our planet now. They're going to immediately expand rapidly. Their population's going to grow exponentially, and it's going to cause massive turmoil between nuclear powers, which could destroy themselves.
Yeah, for sure. So they're going to use it as a weapon.
The smartest thing is to not share at all until we're a one-world, society.
Well, also, like, look at what they look like. What do aliens look like? If you look at the iconic shape of an alien, they have giant heads and genderless bodies. Like, maybe that's the key to stopping war.
There's the Nords.
No incentive whatsoever for people to be sexual or attractive. Everybody looks exactly the same. We get over this idea of biological mating. They reproduce through genetic engineering.
Why not just be robots?
Well, maybe they are like robots. Maybe that is like a robot. Maybe
artificial bodies where have you seen Altered Carbon?
I haven't, but I keep hearing good things about it.
I just finished season 2. Season 1 was awesome, but basically they have a thing called a stack.
You said you finished season 2. Season 1 is awesome. That means season 2 sucks?
Season 2 is a C+.
Oh,
season 1's like an A+.
C+.
Yeah. Like, it's fun. But they have a thing called a stack in the base of their spinal column right below their head that stores their consciousness, and they call their bodies sleeves. And they kind of don't care when they die because they just get, it's if you're poor, you get really crappy sleeves, right? But if you're rich, you get premium access, military upgrade, like high tech, very strong. But their bodies just become separate. And you can also transport your consciousness interstellar, like to other planets. And then you wake up in a body on a different planet. That's how you go places now.
Oh.
Your consciousness travels. So yeah, I mean, maybe aliens do that. Maybe there's not. I find the idea of the various alien life like bodies curious. One of the things I've read about is that it could be humans from the future.
Yeah, I've read that too. That makes sense. If
Yeah.
you think about what we look like as opposed to like what a chimp looks like,
Yeah.
and then you keep going further with that, like, oh, the head will get bigger, the bodies will get weaker.
Yep.
And then look, there's a sort of a trend in this society today to be less masculine, less feminine, more gender neutral.
Yeah.
Even these
so-
goofy they them pronouns, maybe that's all just part of the programming.
This falls into another one of these conspiracy theories that the goal of the globalists is that in order to get access to alien tech, we have to be a unified planet. Aliens aren't going to give
What?
aliens.
Really? You've heard that one?
Oh yeah, it's all over the internet.
That's why they're doing this?
So-
they're going with a one world order in order to get alien tech?
Do you think the Galactic Federation is going to let a planet in which has got numerous governing bodies and nuclear weapons?
I don't think there's a galactic federation.
I'm
Do you
just
think?
I'm just kidding, right? The point I'm making is there are people online who believe this. They believe that if there is some kind of galactic federation, or at least some kind of recognizable, different cultures that have some kind of set rule base,
Right.
who do they negotiate with? Us, Russia, or China? And so the argument, one of the theories is that interests on the United States who have access to the aliens know that they have to do everything in their power to unify the entire planet under one authority so that we can be entered into whatever alien, access would exist. But so long as we are nuclear-powered competing territorial factions, they can't do it.
Well, that makes sense if that was the case.
But you add in what you were saying about masculinity and gender, and one of the things that I find interesting is that when it comes to this argument about removing masculinity, there's kind of overlap with this idea of domestication. You think about wolves, proto-dogs, and dogs. Dogs are effectively wolf cubs perpetually. So wolves are aggressive, territorial, independent. I mean independent in the sense that like you're not going to tame them. They're like
You don't teach wolves. Yeah.
Yeah, like
they're
you're
not willing to listen to you.
you can, but it's like it's
Barely.
they agree with you or they don't. You're following, So an adult, masculine, tough human is going to be like, I'm independent, I'm in charge. They've got to remove that and domesticate us. So you get a bunch of weak, effeminate, genderless humans who are going to be passive, docile, and agreeable.
Yeah, like dogs.
Right.
Yeah, I do. I have a whole bit about what wolves are and what dogs are.
Yeah.
And what men used to be.
Right.
And what men are now.
Dude, I was thinking of this really cool idea for a sci-fi film where aliens come to Earth and most humanity accepts domestication. And then 300, 400 years from now, you've got regular-looking 21st century kind of men and women, but then you have these 5-foot-tall, super-armored jetpack with plasma rifles that love and serve the aliens, and we view them as freakish genetic defects. So have you seen, like, Oblivion with Tom Cruise?
Yes.
The aliens basically genetically engineered a whole bunch of Tom Cruises. I was thinking of that kind of idea, but also with domestication.
That's an underrated movie, by the way.
That's cool. I love it. Yeah.
Very good movie.
If aliens came to Earth and most humans agreed, and then over time the humans that got access to life-saving technology, special armor, were the ones that were agreeable and less likely to be aggressive.
Yeah, they would bitch out just like the wolves bitched out and became a poodle.
Boom. And then you'd have wolves. So I thought of a cool idea for a story. You basically have humans like raiding a chicken coop, and the aliens are like, and they call their attack humans, who jump out with like armor and crazy future tech from the aliens, but they're like these small dog-like versions of humans, like
Right.
desperately in love with the aliens,
Right.
just like crying in love.
Dogs
Yep.
are, yeah.
And wolves aren't like that.
But I wonder if the people would eat those dog-like people the way wolves eat dogs.
Well, for the sake of a fiction, no, we wouldn't have them do that. But
And what would
yeah, maybe.
coyotes be? Coyotes would be like this sneaky, smaller.
But our coyotes aren't the product of domestication. I mean, they're just a separate canine breed, I guess, or species.
Right.
Right.
But I'm saying like they really never got domesticated.
Yeah.
That's what's interesting. It's like they're.
I mean,
is there a coyote version of humans?
Yeah,
is
the
what I'm
North
saying.
Sentinel Island. Right? You know what North Sentinel is?
Yes.
Yeah, the people who've never had contact with other humans.
Well, they've
Yeah.
had several bad experiences
right.
with other people, which
Firing
is why they,
arrows at helicopters
yeah,
and stuff.
Well, that's why they killed that guy. They killed
the missionary.
They killed the missionary because they were invaded in the 1800s by a guy named Maurice Vidal Portman, who was a pervert / explorer. Who would measure dicks and take detailed descriptions of people's anatomy and genitals.
Wow. I mean, was it for legitimate research purposes?
No, it's a fucking wacko. Just
Yeah.
find people and run tests on them.
Yeah.
But that would be what we'd worried about with aliens too, right? If
What, coming
aliens
here and
came
being
here, maybe
creepy
that's why people are worried about them touching their asshole.
Well,
maybe it's only the pervert aliens.
Somebody posted this tweet. They said something about like, you need to realize the aliens who would come to Earth aren't the cool nerds who want to like talk science. It's the rich assholes who, you know, rat fuck their planet and are dipping out.
That's a silly way to look at it.
Well,
that's
I mean,
us.
it's one
But
possibility.
I understand, but that's us.
Right.
We always want to look at things through like a human-centric filter.
Well, exactly.
But if they're genderless things from the future, like what benefit would it be to get richer? You know, they have their giant heads and they could travel the speed of light. Like
This is why I really don't like. I think it's Hawking's argument that we shouldn't be excited about aliens because whenever a more powerful civilization approaches a weaker one, they dominate it and enslave.
yeah.
I don't buy that for 2 seconds in terms of aliens coming to Earth. That makes no sense.
what?
So the argument
You don't buy what?
Hawking's argument
Oh, you don't?
that if aliens came to Earth, they would enslave us to steal our resources.
Well, I don't necessarily think they would enslave us to steal our resources, but if we were aware of them, they would become space daddy.
Well, what he's saying is like, you know, when the Europeans came to North America and spread disease and then stole land and started wiping everybody out. Like
Yes.
when a more advanced civilization meets a, you know, you know, I don't think aliens would do that at all. It's like
Why not?
the way I would view the most devastating approach would be more like a gigantic vessel coming down and just slicing a skyscraper in half and stripping out all the copper and elements while ignoring the people. And when we go to a habitat for animals, we're not going to like, haha, we'll kill all the squirrels. We're like, we're taking the lumber. Squirrels be damned. So we go into habitats where other creatures live, take what we want, and we don't care about the animals. You know, when we farm, we kill all the mice and all the little critters in there. We don't care. So I don't think the argument makes sense that a more advanced civilization would come to Earth and be like, haha, humans, now you will serve us, and it's our land now. They would completely ignore us and just start taking stuff and crushing us and ignoring us. It wouldn't be, but I don't think that's the most likely scenario either. I think any race sufficiently advanced enough to travel the massive size of the universe would have little need for the primitive elements on our planet, and it would actually be substantially easier for them to go to any other empty rock.
No, it's not true. We have
don't
no
think so?
idea. No, we have no idea what they need. Like this might be an incredibly rare place. Like it's incredibly rare as far as everything we've been able to observe. They might come here because they found this Goldilocks planet that has liquid water and incredible biodiversity and more life than any other place on Earth or any other place in the solar system.
You know
or in the known galaxy.
You know the Eris planet theory, right?
What is that?
That's there's an elliptical orbit for a planet that every 300 years comes in close orbit to Earth because it's elliptical around our sun.
Yeah, that's planet Nibiru.
Nibiru, that's what it is, yeah.
Yeah.
And that they used human slave labor for mining gold.
Yes, that's all Zecharia Sitchin.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what Zecharia Sitchin is?
I've heard the name. I've read the stuff
He
online.
wrote a book called The 12th Planet that's a fascinating take on the ancient Sumerian texts, and he's widely been criticized by other scholars who understand ancient Sumerian.
Yeah.
And there's actually a website called Sitchin is Wrong. See if you can go to it, sitchiniswrong.com, because all the whack jobs like me who love the idea of, you know, oh, that's why we're so into gold, man.
Right.
It's because the aliens use these suspended gold particles in their atmosphere,
For their atmosphere.
To protect their atmosphere
Yeah.
from deterioration by their, you know, industrial use of chemicals and toxins has destroyed their environment. So sitchiniswrong.com is an interesting website, and I don't know who's right or who's wrong. And I think if you want to go over the Anunnaki and the ancient, what's really interesting, and not just about Sitchin, but about Sumer in general, is one thing is they had these tablets, these clay tablets that had a depiction of the galaxy or the depiction of the solar system. Now you're talking about 6,000 BC. They have this depiction of the solar system that shows the sun in the center, and it shows all of the planets in our known galaxy or our known solar system with a proper perspective in terms of the size of the planet and the proper distance. Like they're in the right places. It's not like there's a big one really close to the sun, then there's a little one 3 planets out. Like, see if you can find that. It's a weird image. See, that's the image.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and the take that Zecharia Sitchin had was that they were trying to tell us that they have come from this other planet, and they were trying to explain to us what our solar system is. But just the fact that they have this sun in the center, and then they have all the planets that we know of circling this sun. And this has been criticized, like, oh, no, they didn't do it right. They didn't do it. First of all, they did it in clay, okay? So relax. It's so goddamn close that you would have to say, man, that might be what that is. And if that is what that is, what are they trying to say with this thing? Because there's also an image from a clay tablet of a very large being that has a very small human-like being with a monkey tail on its lap. And this is what Sitchin points to as some sort of a depiction of the genetic engineering that took place to turn primitive primates into human beings. This is the reason why we are so different from every other animal on this planet. And the real thing that when people talk about aliens and alien like what would aliens be doing here? Why would they do? What if human beings are the product of accelerated evolution? Like, what if they came down here, they found this incredibly rich planet that's filled with biodiversity and all these different life forms, and then they found these primates. And like, oh, we know where these fuckers are going. Like, this is us 10 billion years ago or whatever the fuck it is. Let's accelerate this little party. Let's inject some of our super advanced DNA into these primates, and let's see where it takes itself.
So what do you think? You think, yeah?
That's a fun story.
Right.
That's the story that they told Bob Lazar. But Bob Lazar said, I don't know if they told me that to throw us off the trail, if it's disinformation, or if it's just some wacky thing that they came up with to like have a crazy story that the scientists couldn't tell anybody. So if you do tell people, like, what are you working on? I'm working on reverse engineering a propulsion system from an aircraft that came from another planet. And by the way, we are a product of accelerated evolution. They came to us and they injected our DNA. And, you know.
Well, think about that story in the context of ancient religions and a lot of the commonalities, notably like Abrahamic. This idea that we were created, that we were told we shouldn't do certain things. So I think these are all fun stories, but you could look at the idea of someone being the son of God, you know, a hybrid, right?
Yeah.
You could look at the stories of regular old Genesis, taking the rib of Adam to create Eve. Well, yeah, the genetic matter.
Sure.
And then manipulating it.